Welcome into the Alabama Football Report. I am Tom Downey. On today's show, some more big-time rumors, news, notes, takeaways, public comments coming out of fall practice for the Crimson Tide. Before we dive into all of that, the next goal here is 38,000 subscribers. Can we get there before Bama takes on ECU to begin the college football season? At least for the Tide, week 0 doesn't count. Hit that sub button if you haven't already and get more free Alabama football YouTube videos. Let's begin with some new buzz on AK Deer, generating it on the message boards, on On3, on 24/7 Sports, thanks to getting the first rep in drills at running back, a photo we're about to show you, and some praise from Ryan Grubb. Now, this was posted by Bama's official website. Austin Mack with the first team. That's also Terrence Green at linebacker or defensive line, so that matters. Like, this is the first team unit, essentially. Waldrep in there at guard. We'll come back to that here in a little bit. And then that's AK Deer right there at running back. Some first-team reps for Deer. Of note, Ryan Grubb asked about the running back battle on Monday, said, quote, "I thought we had some really, really good runs today. A couple pops on some cutback lanes. Guys got their shoulders square. Daniel had a nice one. TB, Trayshawn Brown, had another good one. AK Deer had a touchdown on a rail route. It was a competitive day for the running backs, so I felt like it was coming from all different directions. Everyone was showing up and doing a really good job. I think the competition, has held strong. Those guys, I think, are one of the biggest parts right now that is in the feeling that level of competition in the room. Notable Daniel Hill gets mentioned first. This is the same OC that is called, it starts with Daniel Hill. But also worth mentioning, after being specifically asked about AK Deer, which that stuff does matter, essentially asked, what stood out differently for AK Deer this year, Ryan Grubb said, quote, maturity. And I mean that. I can remember being right out here in the fourth quarter with him and just the things that he thought were possible at that time compared to what he thinks is possible now is very different. I think he's a great teammate. He's a guy that can lighten the mood, spark guys a little bit. That's been something that's been really enjoyable. But also, being a better football player. Like AK, understanding protections was one of the issues of getting on the field, and he's come a long way. That's a big deal. If you can, it happens in the NFL, happens in college too, especially for a team like Bama. If you can't pass protect, guess what? You're not going to be out there on the field. If you can pass protect and you can go run a little rail route, make a touchdown off of it, hey, you can get on the field a little bit. So are you buying that this is going to be a breakout season for AK Deer? Why for yes and for no? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. For a backfield that needs to get more production, sure would be nice if AK Deer could carve out a role for the Crimson Tide. He didn't do a lot last year. It was 19 carries. He did play in 5 games technically, but one of them was the conference championship game. Those actually don't count for redshirt eligibility. Not that it matters now because that doesn't matter. You get 5 for 5. Showcase some flashes against Louisiana Monroe, against Eastern Illinois, but against the how to put this delicately, non-trash teams, screw it, against Wisconsin and Georgia, it was 5 carries for 19 yards. That doesn't really show us or tell us anything because it was kind of in garbage time. But it is worth mentioning, too, that, hey, Kevin Riley wasn't actually mentioned in that piece, that last quote by Ryan Grubb. Should we read too much into that? No, I don't think so. But what if AK Deer could be your early season RB2 and carve out a role for what I think will be a committee, even though I don't think we should be ignoring Daniel Hill necessarily either and not get too swept up in that. I think it's worth monitoring as we sit here right now. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. You got baseball underway, season-long football is available. It's time to cash in with Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app and the best place to win cash while watching sports. The app is really easy to use. You pick more or less on a few player stats, lock in your lineup, like this one. Season-long football. Kenyon Sadiq, a little bit worried about the injuries, but the more of them was already placed. Jordan Tyson, more than 4.5 touchdowns. And Kaleb Downs, former Bama great, more than 1.5 INTs. It is also Taco Tuesday, by the way, so keep an eye out for the tacos, the discounted player projections. They'll be marked with the taco icon within the app. Take advantage. It'll rotate throughout the day. With the new user offer, that's a new offer. Play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. Use code HMA when you sign up. That is right. Prize Picks just switched up their offer, so there's no better time than now to join. Lock in and win that first lineup. That's code HMA at sign up to get $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. When it comes to this running back battle, I still think Daniel Hill is the favorite to be RB1 to start the season. I'm not going to ignore Ryan Grubb saying it starts with him, meaning Daniel Hill. But I do like the buzz for A.K. Deer. I do like the early first-team reps he's at least seemingly been getting. I like the praise from Ryan Grubb that he's picking up protection stuff and becoming more mature. I think that Deer does offer some big playability. We saw flashes of it in a very small sample size last year. The running game has to be better this year. If it can be some combination of, sorry, Kevin Riley, but Daniel Hill, A.K. Deer, maybe make room for one of the freshmen like E.J. Crowell, I think that'd be a positive thing for Bama if the offensive line holds up its end of the bargain. We'll come back to offensive line, but I want to go to the wide receiver 3 battle. Noah Rogers banged up right now. 2 names getting some love from Ryan Grubb as wide receiver 3 options. When asked, who's stepping up, he mentioned Rico, Scott, and Derek Meadows. First, quote, I think Rico and Derek Meadows are growing every day. Thought Rico had a really good day today, Monday. Derek's been showing up every day. Derek might be one of the hardest workers on the team, both in the classroom and on the field. Just like any young player, sometimes they stay down. When the plays are down, they struggle to get back up there. Now, I've seen Derek fight right back away, and it's been really impressive. Those 2 guys have stood out quite a bit. Cederian's still a young guy, but is still learning, but making a lot of plays as well. I look, again, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Sorry if that's the case. Do kind of feel like that's, hey, Morgan's not ready yet. And that could be the case where he becomes ready in October, potentially. I think it certainly seems to be led, this wide receiver 3 battle, by Rico Scott and by Derek Meadows. Rico hopped in the portal. I think once Isaiah Horton hopped in the portal, he goes, okay, maybe I'm not going to do that. Or at least allegedly it hopped in the portal. There's still some dispute of, actually doing it, timing, whatever. But 11 catches, 98 yards last year. Not a lot. He's a little bit smaller than Derek Meadows in particular. Meadows has better size. But Rico Scott offers, I think, some inside-outside flexibility, the same way Lotzeir Brooks does, the same way that Ryan Coleman-Williams does as well. Meadows is intriguing, too. He kind of didn't do much last year. Former 4-star out of Nevada, 126 overall. But, like I mentioned, same with Ced Morgan, does bring some intriguing size. And I think you could see a rotation where, there might be a rep where, hey, we want the big guy on the outside. Go put Derek Meadows out there, the 6'5", 212 player who had a nice 69 yards in the spring game, by the way. He and Ced Morgan both had good games, by the way. It helped out when they were playing with Keelon Russell, and he was slinging it quite a bit. But it might come down to situations and roles, and I bet that wide receiver 3, I bet wide receiver 4 gets a decent amount of playing time as well. I'm still excited about Morgan. I would love it if he could, maybe it's not day 1 of camp because he's a freshman and those guys need time, and DeBoer's been fairly deliberate with not rushing them into a role if he doesn't think they're ready for it. Sure would be cool if by the end of the year some combination of Meadows and Morgan had earned and stolen a job from the incumbent in Scott. And we'll see when Noah Rogers gets healthy, of course, too. But while Rogers is out, pick your wide receiver 3. RS for Rico Scott, DM for Derek Meadows, or CM for Ced Morgan. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Some more positive buzz on one of the contenders for the left guard job. Mal Waldrep getting some praise from Ryan Grubb, and he continues to get, by the way, plenty of left guard reps. Remember, this was him out there with Mack and Hill against Terrence Green and Devin Tompkins and everything. I think that there is maybe a better chance for Mal Waldrep to have this job than I thought it was, a month ago, 2 months ago, whatever. Ryan Grubb was asked, hey, has Mal surprised you? He said, no, he hasn't. He's always had this just steadfast, kind of stoic, I'm going to be able to get this done mindset. He might be a little potentially ahead of schedule for what maybe some people thought. But we always knew he was tough, smart, and dependable, and that's really what has shown up is a physical football player. Ahead of schedule stands out to me because maybe this isn't the case for Bama, but my assumption was, hey, William Sanders is going to get healthy. He'll be the left guard. Now that he's healthy, look, Waldrep has, I think, done a good job to force his way into this competition, into this battle. Nothing we learned last year of note in terms of his role, his playing time, etc. But he's got good size. Tackle originally as a recruit there, by the way. There are 2 spots to monitor on the offensive line. It's left guard. I'll still give the slight edge to William Sanders, but I think in 10 or so days we'll know who the left guard starter actually is. And Javen James versus Nick Brooks. Maybe it is the more experienced players in Sanders and James, but Bama doesn't have time to sit around and wait to see who's good enough and like develop guys. They're going to go with this offense line. It is time to see what they're able to do in the end.